Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Clean Slate podcast. My name is KD, and I'm so excited that you've decided to join me again for another episode this week. Um, I think this week's episode is going to be the heaviest and the hardest for me thus far. So, when you enter into a marriage and you say wedding vows, you say for better or for worse, for richer or for poor, and through sickness and in health. I've heard these vows plenty of times. I've heard them said plenty of times, but I don't think I ever stopped to understand the depth of what each mean and understand the reality of what you are getting yourself into when you state those vows. I'm going to speak about the last one, through sickness and in health, because the sickness was the main, I think the main driver behind the abuse, behind the difficulty, behind the poverty, behind the actions, behind the destruction that was going on in my life. And I did not understand the depth of what that meant until I got married. The day of my wedding, I felt a lot of guilt from things that had happened in the past, and I really wanted my parents to have the wedding of their dreams. And my dad was a pastor, so that meant no alcohol, no dancing, nothing of that sort. And they could invite anybody they wanted. I think that the only things I got to choose were things that were in relations to myself. So I got to choose who did my hair, my makeup, and I got to choose my dress. And even my dress, like, I didn't have one of those TV moments where you bring all of your bridesmaids and your family and then you go to stores and you try on different dresses. I was just walking around on the street one day, got into a store because I knew I was getting married, and then I found this one dress. They had that one dress left, the right color, in the perfect size, and she just happened to be there. I put it on. I had my little teary moment, and I'm like, okay, this is my wedding dress, but it wasn't this grand moment. But even on the day of my wedding, and just a side note, if you don't have a wedding planner, invest in that. The day of my wedding, I don't know what I was out there doing, but I came back home at 5 a.m. And I remember I had to wake up literally an hour later at 6 a.m. to go do my hair. But I come back home at 5 a.m. My bridesmaids are in a neighbor's home nearby, and everybody's sleeping, and family came from all over the states and all over to sleep at my house. And I come back home, and I'm looking everywhere in my household, and there is not one spot for me to sleep. And it's my wedding. Everybody's in this house for my wedding that's happening that day. But I come home, first off, I come home at 5. I don't have a place to sleep. I think I slept on this one-seater sofa in my living room for an hour, got up, and even as I got up, I had to pick up one of my bridesmaids to go do our hairs, because we were doing our hairs at the same place. And I was driving, and even as I'm done doing my hair, I had not done my nails. I had not booked an appointment for my nails. So I go to this nail salon down the street, and I'm just doing my hands because I won't have time to do my feet. And then my brother calls me. He's like, yeah, just come pick up these pants and bring them to the tailor nearby for me. And I'm just doing a whole lot of stuff. And I wish this would have been a red flag for me, because I don't think this is the way your wedding day is supposed to happen. But when my sister was getting married, she went to bed, and I stayed up all night for that wedding too, but she went to bed, and I don't know if there was rose petals, but it could have been straight from a movie. My sister was so happy that day. You could have sworn there were like birds chirping and singing all around her, because she was smiling the whole day. She was just so happy to get married. She woke up like a princess, like She just was so happy to get married. And I don't remember feeling that feeling. So I think that should have been a red flag for me. But, you know, these are things that may or may not happen. I can't say for sure. So I got married, you know, we go on our honeymoon, and, you know, we experienced more issues as we went there. There was, we got to the airport of Mexico because we went to Mexico for our honeymoon, and we had no shuttle. So there was a bunch of things happening. It was nonstop, issues after issues that day, that 24 hours. We finally got there. We savored our first night, our honeymoon, and the second day we kind of spend the day. But third day, my husband at the time gets sick. And he suffers from a chronic illness, which I was aware of, but I did not know to what extent that illness, how impactful that illness was going to be in my life. So he gets sick and he suffers from a critical illness, which means he gets pain crises. And so everything can cause a pain crisis. It's too hot, he can get a pain crisis. It's too cold, he can get a pain crisis. You know, he's upset, he can get a pain crisis. He didn't eat, he can get a pain crisis. He ate too much, he can get a pain crisis. And so literally anything could cause that pain crisis. But at the time, we were in Mexico, we got married during the winter, so we did not expect it to be that cold. But they don't have heat in the rooms, so we could not put heat, and so he was cold at night, and this is what got him sick. To this point, this is all okay, for me at least. But that night, he had a pain crisis, and that means his body hurts him so much that he is screaming in pain. And like he has pills that he can take to try to help the pain, but it's never enough. It's never enough. And so we're on day 3 of our honeymoon. He's in pain. And at this point, I'm trying to massage him so that I could move the pain away from the spot that it's at. But the pain is never leaving his body, so it does not matter how many hours of massaging I'm doing, it's not going. And a day became 2 days, became 3 days of just massaging him, not sleeping, because if he's not sleeping, I'm not sleeping. Of him and myself not eating, because if he's not eating, I'm not eating. And it's just nonstop. And at some point, I'm just like, I can't do this. I wasn't expecting this. I'm on my honeymoon and I'm taking care of him, and we can't go to the hospital, but like I'm literally, I have not eaten, I have not slept, and my hands hurt from having massaged a body for hours. Like it's not even realistic. And I'm on day 3, 4, 5 of my honeymoon. I'm praying, putting my faith in action and saying, God, do a miracle. I throw the pills, I throw the pain meds in the washroom, and I'm like, no, God, you have to do a miracle. And it just blows up. Then he takes his wedding ring, throws it on the floor, starts cursing me out, says he regrets ever marrying me. He just destroys me, tells me I'm the worst mistake of his life, like instant regret about marrying me, like instant destruction about marrying me. I'm crying. The ring is somewhere on the floor. I can't find it. I'm like, I can't find the ring. Maybe we shouldn't have gotten married. And he's telling me this too. And it's just verbal destruction on his part towards me. And he's sick. So he's screaming at me. And then, you know, the next moment he's like, oh, I love you. And it's just a back and forth. This was the first time I was genuinely concerned. And, you know, he had gotten sick before, but he would just ghost me. He would get sick. Like I've gone to his house to help him out a little bit once in a while, but it was nothing compared to this. But it was the beginning of a cycle. And this cycle happened consistently in my household for the next 5 years of my life. And I felt like I was living a hell on earth. There's some days I would have not slept all night from massaging him and like singing and praying and trying all different methods to try and heal him because he's sick. And then, wake up, take the kids, bring them to school or daycare, and then come back to help him, call in sick for work, go back to pick up the kids, bring them to his aunt's house. And just, it was like a repeat cycle. We would stay there for hours, days on end. And during those times is where the verbal abuse was incredible. The physical abuse, sometimes like he would just, when he still was able to be on his feet, he would take me, he would choke me, he would berate me. Sometimes we fought. At some point, he took our wedding book picture and he ripped it apart, threw some alcohol on my head, berated me, called me names, hit me with a shoe. And even through all of this, the physical abuse, the verbal abuse, he would always come back and apologize and say, it's the illness. It's not me, it's the illness. And, I'm going through this and it's difficult for me. And I didn't tell anybody because I was trying to conserve his integrity, conserve his person. And, he didn't want people to know that he was like this. And I thought, I'm a wife. It's my duty to protect my husband. But then eventually I couldn't take it anymore. I spent so many days at the hospital that I would go there. I knew where the covers were. I knew where the chairs were. I knew the staff there. I knew which doctor was a good one, which doctor was a bad one, which nurse was a good one, a bad one. I spent so much time there. I called in sick so many times. I spent so much time doing back and forth trying to be a nurse and a healer for my husband that I did not recognize myself, and I could not live like that anymore. And so I developed a real disdain for illness. For, like, he would say I have a headache and I would just look the other way. At some point I told him I'm not doing that anymore. Anything that has to do with your illness, I don't want to be responsible. You are sick, you go to the hospital. He accepted it on the moment, but I think that he expected to change my mind over time with the manipulation and the gaslighting. But it never came back because I think I developed PTSD from being in this situation. And it's only as I spoke to someone and explained my situation that the person was like, that's not normal. To have the responsibility to heal your husband, you can't do that. You're not a healer. You can't spend days, hours doing this over and over again, and you don't know at what time, you don't know at what point, you don't know for what reason. It just comes and it happens, and then at that point you're subjected to physical abuse, verbal abuse. I should have never be put in that situation in the first place. But I never spoke about it, and I just always kept it thinking I was doing the right thing. But after the fact, he started going to the doctors because he saw that he was in pain, and I would literally just either step out of the house or ignore it. And then he realized he had to go to the doctors. He had to go to the hospital. And then eventually he sought treatment, and he had a regular treatment that he was doing for years. He had gotten significantly better. He would still use the illness against me to say, I can't work because I'm sick. I can't bring the kids because I'm sick. Oh, I have a headache. I'm gonna have a crisis. And he just used this against me consistently, like clockwork. And I became a slave to this illness because of the space it took in my life. And I did not understand what that meant until I lived it. And I did not understand that this was not right until I spoke about it and spoke up about it. And it really affected me. It affected me deeply, to the point where, and I'm gonna be vulnerable and honest here, I would come home sometimes, because he had told me so many times that he could die from this illness. There's some days that I will come back home, be in front of the door, and prayed, God, let this be the day, because I can't do this anymore. For you to want to wish someone's death, it's critical. You're at that point, it's not normal. And I know that there's like a big trend about people wanting to get married, people wanting to be in a relationship, but don't settle for just anything. And I will say this is a situation that's apart, because there's plenty of people that suffer from the same illness that do not have this type of behavior. But because illnesses are it can be so ravaging, the mental part plays a significant part into the person's, not only the person's illness, but also the person's recovery. The illness had taken so much place in his life that he was unable to do anything and to live without it. Even when it started getting better, he refused to believe that he was better, even though I saw it with my own eyes. And that is so important for you to size who you're getting in a marriage with, because these vows that you say through sickness and in health, for poorer or richer, for better or for worse, it weighs a lot. You can't even begin to understand the weight of those vows. And you get into a situation where you have someone that suffers from a physical illness, but it's affecting them mentally, it will have an impact on you. That's why you have to choose wisely. You have to seek counsel. If you are with someone, I'm speaking about sickness and health, but there's so many other factors that you have to take into consideration. Marriage is no joke, and I've said that before, but I want to reiterate that there is no shame in walking away. It doesn't even matter if you're the day before the wedding and you see red flags. And that's why I took the time to speak about the day of my wedding, because there were so many things that were happening, and I never even took a second or a breath to analyze what was going on and what was happening around me. If I had taken that time, if I had dealt with my baggage, if I had taken the time to see what was in front of me, maybe I would have made different choices. But there's no shame in walking away from something, even though the people around you will tell you, I already invited all of those people, we already booked the room, the wedding is tomorrow, you can't cancel. It's never too late to walk away from a situation that you are second guessing, even though you're gonna put the wedding at a later date because you need to assess the situation. This is your life. After the wedding day, the marriage is what counts. I know a lot of people are putting a lot of money, time, and effort into the wedding day, but that really does not matter. What matters is the marriage. You're walking into a marriage with someone that you don't know, or you're walking into a marriage with a demon, or you've made soul ties with someone you had no business being with. It will greatly and deeply affect you. It's better to walk away. It's better to look at those red flags. It's better to evaluate your situation. Those vows weigh so much. And there's no dignity in staying. The easy thing to do is to go on and pretend like you didn't see anything. But then everybody will walk away. They will live their lives and they will have nothing to do with you, but you will be in this. You will suffer in this. You will pay the consequences of this. And you don't want to be there. It's not worth it. It's not worth going through it and settling for the wrong choice. It's better for you to stay alone and I know I'm saying that knowing that I haven't been alone. And believe me when I say I would rather be alone than to be married to the wrong person. Someone tells you who they are, believe them, take them at their word, take them at their worth. And if you have questions, there is nothing wrong with taking a step back, reevaluating, and really sizing up what you are walking into and if it's worth going into, because the price that you will pay will be heavy if it's the wrong one, and it will affect you. And then you have wasted time, years of your life, in something that was never meant to you in the first place. God is a good God, but He will let you choose. And if you choose with your head, or if even with your heart, if you choose with your heart, because my heart really saw the best in people and really wanted for the best in people to come out, but forgetting that there's an enemy out there that wants to destroy me. So if you choose without putting God into your choice, you will pay for that, and you will pay a heavy price. There's no shame in walking away from something bad. There's no shame in asking people for help. There's no shame in asking people for advice. And I want to encourage you to take the time before you make that step. I really wanted to make that episode for that, for those people that are thinking, or that are in a relationship, or that are thinking of going the next step. It doesn't matter that you've been with a person for 10 years. It's worth walking away if it's going to save your life. So I just want to encourage you, it's never too late. It's never too late to start with your clean slate. God bless.